Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, I'm Maureen.
I'm Jeanette.
I'm Tiffany.
And we are back with our final season 2 Bridgerton recap. It's kind of a bummer that's our last one.
I know.
But we have things to say about this one.
Mm-hmm.
We are bringing you the recap of episodes 7 and 8. And we start off with the queen thinks she's finally found a Lady Whistledown. Of course, that's not where the scene opens, but there's big things about to happen in Eloise's life.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I first watched that, like it shocked me when like the carriage rolls up and I'm like, oh, like who's that? What's going on here? And I mean, Eloise, she sort of kidnaps her. I mean, she like forces her like to get in the carriage and like have this big conversation. And poor Eloise is terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we don't see Eloise terrified very often,
No.
but I mean, she's like, which rightfully so, because the queen is scary, you know,
And openly threatens her and her family.
Yes. And like, there's no way, I mean, what can Eloise say? Because she even says, if you deny it, it'll be worse. So
the punishment will be worse, she says.
I mean, what can you do? And Eloise, you can just see the little wheels in her head as she's trying to figure out, like, how do I get out of this? Like, this isn't, what's going on. But she gives her like 3 days to like decide to be her ally, which I still didn't quite understand, like, what was she going to do for you though? Like, I don't know. I didn't really understand exactly what she wanted from her as far as that goes.
Probably just good reports of because the whole season it's been Whistledown openly attacking and challenging the queen. And so an ally would look like no longer openly attacking her, agreeing with everything she says and promoting her excellence.
Yeah. It was just crazy.
Also probably giving the queen insider information before it reaches the newsstands.
Yeah. So then she, tells Penelope about it. And Penelope's, stressed, of course. I mean, for obvious reasons, because she's like, wait a minute. No, it's not you.
And the thing is that, Pen, obviously she's hiding that she's Lady Whistledown, obviously, because we all know she's her. We knew that from season 1. But she was absolutely right in what she said to Eloise. And I'm saying this now because it comes up worse later on.
Yeah.
But Eloise did this to herself.
She did.
I mean, she can blame anybody else she wants, but this is 100% Eloise, 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, Penelope's, she's trying her best to figure out how do I get my best friend out of this.
And she's been trying because as the more Eloise went to go see Theo, the more Penelope tried to tell her, this is stupid. Stop doing this. Stop doing this.
Yeah. I mean, she even goes to like Genevieve, like to ask advice. And I mean, Genevieve gives her advice that as the viewers, we don't want to see her do this because we don't want to see like, the relationship between Eloise and Penelope blow up.
Yeah.
But then Penelope looking at it, it's kind of like, I mean, this is the only way to get the queen off her back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only way to do it. And so, I mean, she's put in a tight spot there. Like, I don't know. I wasn't mad at Penelope for doing it. I was mad that she was put in the position where she had to make, had to do that.
And she was put in that position by Eloise, which is the worst part. It's not even that Penelope was just, oh crap, I've been found out. It's Eloise screwed this up. Eloise has damaged us all. And Eloise has forced me to do this. Yeah.
Which, I mean, Eloise didn't know, what she was doing at the time, but at the same
time. She should have, though, because the queen is the one who asked her to go seek out Lady Whistledown. So if you are hanging out with this print shop where you have already discussed, hey, this is where she prints her stuff, and you're sneaking to get in there, I mean.
Yeah, you look guilty.
Eloise is smart enough to understand the implications of that.
Yeah.
And also, Penn pointed out the implications to her several times.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
the thing is, though, Eloise is love struck with this whole Theo thing. And I mean, that's a weird concept for us to see because Eloise being interested in anyone, and that's not, it's really out of character what we're doing with her. But I guess, it happens, whatever. But I mean, it's definitely, it's caused trouble, and this.
I think she's more in love with the ideas that he presents and the idea of, he might be intellectual enough for me rather than actually caring for him in that way.
Yeah. And the thing is, I like Theo. I wish this could have been a different scenario because I would have liked to have seen them be able to work out. But
And Penn says at one point, what happens when Lady Whistledown prints her next issue? And of course, Vance can be like, well, then don't print another one, Penelope, because it's you. But here's the thing: Eloise is clearly never Lady Whistledown. So she's never going to be able to do what Penn did. She's never going to have the information that Penn got. And so the queen is going to find out, oh, so you've been lying to me this whole time, and it's not really you. Even if Penn stopped writing Lady Whistledown and let Eloise take over the crown of Lady Whistledown, the queen's not stupid. She's going to figure out that Eloise has been faking and lying to her. And the queen's not going to think, well, you only did it because I threatened you. The queen's only going to see, oh, you lied to me. And that's it.
Yep.
So Penn literally had no other choice.
Mm-hmm.
If she wanted, well, no, that's not true. She could have let Eloise be damaged and brutalized and let her family completely ostracized by the queen. She could have done that.
Well, she wasn't going to. Yeah, I mean, and she, I mean, Penelope's even having a hard time writing her next column. Because she's like, I don't think she wants to do this anymore. But then Eloise says, well, I'm going to just confess and say it's me. And so that sort of puts her in a position. Now, this part I did wonder, and maybe it's because I got the book in my head.
I know exactly what it was.
Was she just was it just to protect Eloise, or was she also a little
both, I think,
jaded that she was going to take her credit for this? Because in the book I mean, I don't know, not everybody's read the book, but they think Cressida, what isn't it Cressida that they think that,
but I think in the book it was Cressida. Yeah.
But I just wondered though, because Eloise, I mean, not Eloise, but Penelope kind of gets this what? No, you're not lady. I mean, it was almost like a little bit of a twinge of no, I've worked hard. You're not going to take all
I think that's what it was at first, until Eloise started describing how the queen threatened her and her family.
Yeah.
And then it became, because I mean, she's in love with Colin.
Right.
She loves the Bridgertons. And so then I think I think at first she was like, no, that's me. That's mine.
Yeah.
But once she understood the threats and the implications, she felt she had to save the family by ruining them. Because even when she went to Madame Delacroix, she said, I could never do that to my friend. I could never do that.
Right.
And in the books, she even said to Colin several times, anybody but her. We're talking about Cressida. She would have let anybody but Cressida take it, because Cressida.
Yeah, true. Well, she's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder too, it made me think, what if Penelope had just told Eloise at that moment? I wonder if things would have been different. I sort of wish she had.
But I think what scared her is because Penelope is, for as strong as she is as Lady Whistledown, she has a lot of fear as Penelope. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
That this whole season she just seemed consumed with fear. And when Penn said, I no longer care what she does or does not do. She doesn't matter to me. I hate her as far as I'm concerned, basically. And I think that it was that moment that Penn realized if she would have told her I'm Lady Whistledown, then Eloise would have cut her off right then.
Yeah.
And then she saw the whole Bridgerton family leaving, and that Bridgertons are the only people Penelope has.
But I don't think Eloise would have cut her off at that point.
I don't think so either, but I think that's what Penn thought.
Right.
Especially since Penn spent over half of the season saying how much she couldn't stand Lady Whistledown and how Lady Whistledown wasn't anything, and went from distaste to hatred of Lady Whistledown. And so I think that's why Penn didn't confess to her.
Yeah.
And Eloise would have been angry.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Book Eloise, I don't think would have, but show Eloise would have been angry.
Right. And even season 1 Eloise wouldn't have been, but season 2 Eloise is something new. So yeah, I agree.
Book Eloise seems very different to show Eloise to me.
Really different.
Especially after reading her book, I'm like, it's like two completely different people to me.
I think her character is probably the one, in my opinion, that's the most different from the book version.
I agree. Especially
I like the show version better, if I'm being honest, because I think she's spunkier and she's got more personality than I've seen her in the books, really. So
it's just, I don't like the season 2 version of Eloise. I like her, I like how neurotic she is. And I love the actress and how she portrays Eloise. So I like that part. But her attitude this season, I just did not like.
Yeah, and Eloise too, Penelope tried to warn her from going to see Theo even more. She doesn't listen. She goes to see him anyways. The first time around, he, sends her away, and at the time, we don't realize it, but he's trying to protect her. He doesn't want her to, be seen there again or whatever. But then later on, he calls her back, and he's got the notes for her, that were sent, and tells her they were sent in the silks. And so that kind of puts her on the trail of Madame Delacroix.
Yeah. And I want to point out again too that it's that same footman who went up to her and he's like, you have a package, and she's like, I don't want it. No, you're gonna want this. I kind of low-key want her with that footman.
I like the
I
footman.
do too. I've seen, I
Yeah.
think his name's, I think people call him Footman John. I don't know if that's accurate. But I've seen people like, who do you ship her with or whatever? And it's like Philip, Theo, or Footman John. And a lot of people say Footman John.
Because they have
He's
some
cute,
chemistry and
too,
he
like-
is cute.
Yeah. I'm
And he
all
clearly
for it.
cares for her well-being and wants to
Mhm.
protect her.
I'm not sure if society would respect that any more than
No.
Theo, but still, you know.
But at least the footman works in a respectable home doing respectable things, whereas the footman is dirty and he probably lives in the slum area, and
Yeah.
so I think he'd be a
Yeah.
step up from Theo in society.
Sophie and Benedict.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
sort of a, that's a Sophie Benedict situation. True.
But it's different for men marrying women like that as opposed to women
Yeah.
marrying men like that.
Yeah. So yeah, what like later, the Theo and Eloise stuff sort of heats up. They're going through like all the papers. They're trying to figure out like what's going on. And I loved that scene. That was a really cute scene of their
Yeah.
little almost kiss, I guess. Like, and poor Eloise, she just steps back, and I don't know. I felt so bad for her because she's so shocked by this moment that's like happening.
Do you think she stopped and decided to break it off because she was afraid for him, or because she was afraid of what it meant?
Maybe both. Maybe both. I didn't quite like his reaction to it. Like, you don't have to be so grumpy with her though. Like, I mean,
But I don't think he
know.
was grumpy because she didn't follow through with the kiss, because he immediately apologized. And I think he would have left it at that. I think it was her saying, I can't do this anymore. This is all absurd. And I think he heard her calling him absurd. And her, because when she said, this is all so absurd, it's a lady consorting with a lowly print shop
Yeah.
worker. He doesn't even own the print shop. He's just an employee
But I
there.
mean,
So I think that's what I think he heard her saying. This is the dumbest relationship possibility. It's never going to work. It's never going to be here. So I mean, I would have benefited of that too, I think.
I guess, but he knows it's absurd. I mean, by society standards, it is absurd.
But he thought she was different, and he
And
thought
I think
that she was feeling the same. Yeah, but she
I-
didn't say it.
I know, but I just think he could have been a little, I don't know. It bugged me. Just, he was so quick to jump and like, be like, well, forget it then, get out of here kind of thing. Like, I don't know. It didn't sit well with me, but
And she was also on her way out too. I mean, she was the one who started saying, we're done, it's over. But I think that for him, it just shows one that they really don't know each other that well.
yeah.
Because
True.
it
Yeah,
was a
man,
big deal for her, but all he heard her say was how absurd it was. And he thought that she was one who was not, and even Violet says at some point in this, that if what would disappoint her if she suddenly started caring what other people thought. So he thought the same thing Violet did, that, here's this girl who clearly doesn't care about what society thinks. She wants to be with me just because of me. And then all of a sudden, no, I could never be with someone like you, is what he's hearing. And so he's hurt and offended, and it was a messed up situation, but I get why he did it.
yeah, I guess so.
I don't think anybody really knows anybody here because everybody gets married after like one meeting.
Exactly. I mean, that's true, right? Then, of course, we fast forward to the Featherington Ball, very original name, which I thought was hilarious that Penelope was like, how original. And Penelope's telling Eloise some gossip, and it's like the light bulb goes off. Like she's finally realizes, like, wait a minute, Penelope's been the one that probably knows all this gossip and has known all this different stuff. And so she figures it out. I didn't like how she just went to her room and like totally went through all of her
Yeah, that's
stuff.
not
Like,
okay.
Yeah, no.
why not just confront her directly? I mean, I know she would have lied to you, but I still think I have hopes that if like the conversation had went down correctly, Penelope would have eventually just
I agree
admitted
with that.
it was me.
Mhm. Because
But-
Eloise has never asked her point blank ever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean-
technically, Penelope never lied to her.
No.
She kept
I mean,
something
not
from her,
really.
but Penelope never, even all the times they talk about Whistledown, Penelope never lied to her about it.
Mhm.
She just never was implicitly forthcoming with information.
My thing is with Eloise is I feel like it's a very one-sided friendship. And I like Eloise. I really do. I think she's spunky and she's fun. And I think she's got a good heart. I do. We see a lot of that, different times, but most of the time with Penelope, it's about Eloise. And it was last season too. I think I talked about this probably. Like, I mean, you go back to the whole Colin thing, like, why does Eloise not realize that she's in love with Colin? It's obvious. I mean, like, we talk about Edwina being like completely blind. Eloise is also blind to this. Like, this is your best friend. You should have noticed the way her face lights up when your brother walks in the room, the way she talks about him all the time. I mean, I think Eloise is really wrapped up in herself.
I think
And-
that Eloise thinks that the things that she thinks about are so mighty and so important that
Yes.
everyone else must care more about what she's thinking about than
Right.
anything else that's going on in their lives.
Right. And I mean, I think that right there, the fact that you are so self-absorbed like this, it's probably why Penelope never shared this with you
Mhm.
and never told you. Because I mean, how could she when all you ever talk about is yourself?
Yeah. And how much you hate this person, love this person. I mean, Penelope is, because of that, Penelope is so unsure of what the reception would be if she actually told her the truth. She's terrified to lose her. But Eloise has no bones about it.
Right.
That confrontation too, like, it was so heartbreaking because Eloise was unaccountably cruel.
Yeah.
There was no,
Well,
like, when I rewatched it, I know that we have alluded to this, but I am, and I'm going to say it on the recording because we've talked about this without being recorded, but I am more upset at how they chose to end this season than I am about any other change in season 1 or season 2 that they've done. This
Yeah.
one genuinely makes me mad because they destroyed this relationship for no real reason, and they altered the course of the rest of the books through this one interaction here. But Eloise was saying so many, there was one thing she said about her being on the wall, about how she clung to that wall. No, she didn't. No one wanted her.
yeah.
She didn't ask to be on that wall. She didn't
Yeah.
ask to be on the outskirts. That's why she became Lady Whistledown, because no one noticed her or wanted her. We even saw that earlier in the season when those two guys come up to talk to Eloise and Penelope's actively talking and participating. The two men nor Eloise paid any attention to her. It's like she
Yeah.
wasn't even there. She didn't ask to be a wallflower. She didn't ask to be on the outskirts of the room. She wanted to be involved in society. And Eloise even found out earlier in the season, I didn't know you actually like this. It's okay that you like it. Well, is it? Because
Right.
you're punishing her for it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I watched it today, I had those thoughts too. I'm like, oh my God, like, I mean, Eloise is just mean. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Yeah.
and I mean, yes, Penelope also comes back with some cruel words, and I wasn't happy with that, but
I mean,
They
how
were
much
more
more
re-
will you take?
they were more retaliation
Mhm.
for what Eloise has already said. I mean, Penelope would have never said those words to her
No.
if Eloise hadn't said that. I mean, I understand that I don't think it was the right thing to do to publish that article, but I feel like her hands were tied
Mhm.
and there was nothing else to do. So I'm not angry about that.
Mm-mm. No, because there was really no other recourse. And it's because Eloise, and here's the thing, even if Penelope didn't publish that, Eloise was still doing what Penelope said she was doing.
Yes.
And it was Penelope who continued to say, stop, this is dangerous, stop. So either way you look at it, Eloise, you did this to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, I mean, when Penelope finally agrees and says, you're right, everything you're saying is true, she's apologizing to Eloise while Eloise is relentlessly attacking her and saying mean and cruel things to her. Penelope's apologizing.
Yeah.
And she even says, I did this to save you. I had no other choice. And then Eloise comes back even stronger, more hateful, more rude. And I do think that when Penelope said, at least I've done something, all you ever do is talk about doing something. I thought that was accurate. Mean, maybe,
True.
but accurate.
Yeah, no, it's true. Absolutely true. And I don't know. And then, to beat it all, this confrontation happens. So obviously she's absolutely distraught. She goes looking for Eloise and then she overhears Colin talking to some guys, which is also a change from the book. I know I can harp on
This
the
was
book
in
things,
Colin's
but
book, wasn't it?
This was in
No, it was in, it was in the beginning of Colin's book.
it was in the
Colin,
beginning of Colin's book. But
I've read them all together now.
But it was
I don't know
also,
what-
I think it was also in,
it might have
because
been
it
the
was
end of
another one.
Benedict's.
it was in the end of Benedict's, but they brought it up in the beginning of Colin's book too.
Because Benedict, and that's the problem, like I don't know how this situation is going to be resolved of him saying like these things about Penelope to these friends, because in the books he's saying it to his brothers,
Yeah, just
and Benedict notices him or notices her, and he's like basically tells him like, dude, you screwed up, like you can't be saying stuff like that about her. No one noticed her, so how is Colin going to even realize that he messed up and realize what it is that she's so upset about? Like, it's just messing with stuff. But I mean, Colin, we all knew that moment was going to probably happen, any of us that's read the books. But what was so strange is that he said that right after he like called out Jack Featherington and defended the family about and how much he cared about them. So it was just so strange to hear those words directly after you've done that.
But we heard him say earlier in the season, you don't count, you're my friend. So he's just an idiot.
Yes.
I mean, he
really
would
makes me
defend.
mad.
It does, yeah, because I think he would go to great lengths to protect them but
Yes.
not ever be romantically involved with any of them at this point.
Though I do think that he cares for her, and I think he just it's one of those, like, you're just an idiot. He just doesn't realize.
He doesn't understand why he cares for what
Like,
it is that
I
he's
think
feeling.
if some other guy swooped in and wanted Penelope, Colin would be like, whoa, hold on, no. That's Penelope. Like, I think it would like click at that moment. But
he was definitely flirting with her some this season.
yes.
He was sending so many mixed signals to poor Penelope.
Oh my God.
She had
yeah.
whiplash so many times. Like, every time he would get her
I'm so
excited,
confused.
he'd do something stupid to upset her. And she'd be like, oh, wait, I guess he doesn't like me. Oh, he does like me? Oh, wait, he doesn't like me. Like, all season long, I just felt so bad for her. That was the other thing that Eloise brought up, is she was almost penalizing Penn for disclosing that Marina was pregnant. But I'm sorry, do you not realize that saved your brother? And that was why she did it? Would you rather him be married to this woman who duped him into marrying him when she didn't love him or care for him at all? Like, it's just, Eloise just, because she's mad and all these other things that she would have been grateful for, ticked her off. And I don't think Colin, even Colin said something about that earlier this season, that if Lady Whistledown hadn't said this, but I mean, think about it, dummy. If you would have actually been duped into this marriage, there's a reason why you were mad. You weren't mad because Lady Whistledown, and this is what it comes down to, is pride. You weren't mad that Lady Whistledown wrote it because it saved you from it. Because if it would have been a conversation, you found out before a conversation, you would have had the exact same reaction as if Lady Whistledown wrote it. So you guys aren't actually mad at this stuff, but it just hurt your pride that it was published.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
At all. I was proud of him for calling out like Cousin Jack and like defending them.
Cousin Jack.
I'm gonna miss Cousin Jack.
I am too.
I am. I don't know. Or maybe I'm gonna miss Prudence referring to him as Cousin Jack more than I'm actually gonna miss him. I don't know.
I don't think I'm gonna miss him too much.
What did Prudence say?
Fun addition.
There was another scene in these episodes. Oh, when they were talking about the ball. She was like, oh, where we can, what'd she say?
Finally
Something
celebrate
about
my engagement.
my engagement to Cousin Jack. I'm like, stop saying cousin when you're talking about getting married to this guy, though. Like, it just cracked me up.
I do want to point out too that in the recaps we did at episode 1 and 2, we kept referring to Prudence as Philippa, but we had it mixed up. So just so you know, I did catch that. I just didn't catch it until we had recorded all the other recaps. So just like, no.
I can't keep them straight.
No. But that was when even Portia then was like, to celebrate all of us. Like, she can't even commit to celebrating the engagement of Cousin Jack and Prudence. Now, okay, when Lord Featherington goes to visit the Gentleman's Club, Will's Gentleman's Club, it's obviously because he found the record of the match from last season, from season 1, that Will had arranged to lose so that he could give him all the money. What do you think he was trying to blackmail him into? Because it's not like Will knew anything about Lord Featherington's new business or what he was doing. So why do you think it was just so he could have him in his pocket? Like, in case he ever needed anything?
And also maybe because, I mean, here, if we're going to be doing this scheme about the ruby mines or whatever, maybe he needed, like, he would meet with people at that club and he needed Will to, like, not be in his business about it. I don't know.
Because I feel like you could do that at any club. So that's why I was like, what exactly is he trying to get from Will?
This was just their way of, like, trying to make Will relevant. And I'm sorry, I don't like Will. They have nothing to not like him for, but
I don't dislike him. He's just there.
I don't need him. I just want him.
There's no relevance to him at all.
None.
I mean, if they just got rid of his character altogether, I don't think anyone would miss him.
Not one bit.
I mean, I kind of did like what he said to Colin in front of Lord Featherington, but there are so many other ways that could have happened.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that I feel like the only reason they brought him back was that he could have that confrontation with Colin, Lord Featherington, so that Colin could say what he said about Penelope and be the one who discovers it all. Like, I feel like that was his only purpose. But they had him there all through the season, and then it was just for this one purpose, and then we don't see him again.
Yeah.
I was really confused with Colin when he went to Cousin Jack to invest in the ruby mines, because I'm like, what are you doing?
I don't think that everyone was mad at Anthony for pointing that out. I mean, that's a big sum to take. It's not, I mean, it's the family's money. It's not like it's just Colin's to play with whatever he wants.
Right.
So to make a big investment, you should probably let the head of the household know, the one who balances the books, because obviously he's going to have questions if he just sees a huge sum of money gone from their accounts for no reason.
Yes. I mean, agreed.
And obviously, I mean, the reason Colin did it, I think, is because they were getting around to everybody in town and everyone's excited about these mines, and he heard about it. But is it just me, or does Colin have the worst intuition of anybody ever?
The worst. I don't
How
know.
did he figure out?
I wish
Because
they had
Will.
showed.
Was it just Will?
Will said that, and then Colin went digging. He said he investigated.
I mean,
He
they didn't
probably
really
did.
show it. They just
I
showed
wish
we
they
him.
don't-
showed it.
You
We don't know who he
find-
reached out to, but he had to have reached out to a contact in America, probably from
Yeah.
his travels. He had a contact there.
Yeah.
But they don't say that, so we just have to assume that that's how. But he said that when he told Penn, was that he did digging into him. He found out that all the mines were empty.
Yeah. I wish they had showed us, because then it could have been like a good Colin moment.
Mhm.
Instead, it was just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish they had showed us him figuring it out.
Yeah. I was really confused by that. I'm like, okay, so you just go up to Cressida and steal her necklace and bust it up.
Why did she
What?
not think? I mean, maybe he did it with Cressida because she's so arrogant and conceited that she
Yes.
thought that he was, because she even said, "Are you making an excuse to call me tomorrow?" Yeah, that's what I think would men try to steal my jewelry too.
Right.
Sure. The whole Portia and cousin Jack thing. I like him, and then I don't like him. Mostly
like
because he's engaged to her daughter. That just was a little weird to
I
me.
think that's Portia's hesitation too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because everything, and this is, I was watching something. I think it might have been the Kelly Clarkson thing. She hates Portia. I love
No.
Portia.
I didn't
don't know.
agree. That was like the only thing Kelly Clarkson that I did not agree with.
Mhm.
Like, she's gonna watch our podcast, but if she does, like, I'm just letting her know. Like, that's the one thing I do not agree with.
Because everything Portia has done, even last season, was for her daughters. Everything. She
Yeah.
wasn't being malicious. It was her husband who was the idiot.
Mhm.
And yeah, she came up with this scheme here, but it was because she had a panic and was like, "Oh, I need my daughters to be married."
Mhm.
So even that, yeah, it was a bad idea. They were cheating a lot of people, but it was about being a mother to her daughters. And so when first of all, when they walk in the room and Colin and Penelope are in there alone with the door closed, very different reaction than when cousin Jack and Prudence were in the orangery with the door open and glass windows.
Mhm.
Exactly.
She was not too okay with it then.
And
And
I
so-
would have thought that she would have made a bigger fuss, like, because you could
But
have
it's
got her. Like,
because the Bridgertons were looking to be falling out of favor with the Queen and everybody
true.
else.
Yeah.
So she didn't want that connection.
That's true.
But with cousin Jack, she thought he was wealthy and could save them and would keep her in the head of the household. When it's in that confrontation when Colin says that he's a fraud, he's not real, and Portia and cousin Jack are talking afterwards, and he says, "Let's get away tonight." She says, "What about my girls?" "Well, we'll send for them after, or they can come tonight, whatever. And that's the moment where she realized, okay, we don't have the same goals.
I was really proud of her for that. Like, it made me like I always liked her because I thought she was funny and
She's funny.
entertaining, but I didn't necessarily think she was like a good person, and let alone a good mother. I just never really thought that. But this moment, I was like, oh, like,
Mhm.
you do actually care about their well-being. It's not just about marrying them off to a good family to like better yourself. You actually care about them.
Yeah.
I was kind of proud of her at the
Mhm.
end of the season here.
And I think when he kissed her, she allowed it to happen because she was so caught off guard.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment she was alone, she started running through all the things he said in her head.
Yeah.
And then she realized, okay, no, I'm not for anybody who's against my daughters.
Mhm.
And I love when he came up to her and she said, "Don't you ever touch me again." Like,
Right.
yes. And then he called her cruel and she said, "I am a mother." It almost felt like there was supposed to be another word on the end of that, but it's just, that's what she said. And it was so perfect and it was so good. And the way that she had tied it all up, like I just wanted to cheer.
Mhm.
When the estate's going to travel to the first son of one of her daughters. And she's like, "Varley's very good at penmanship, you know."
Well, she is, right?
I love Varley.
Mhm.
She's very good at that. She has a lot of practice.
Yeah, she wrote all those letters to Marina, right?
Uh-huh. I did like the kiss with them. That was pretty hot.
Well,
Poor
I
Portia
wanted
is
there to
so
be a way.
craved for attention and affection because her last husband didn't give her any of that. She was
Yeah.
constantly like, he treated her like she was trash.
Season
And
3, let's find an older gentleman to like
Yes.
swoop in and like
Mhm.
sweep Portia
A
off her feet.
wealthy one.
Yes.
Because
I'm
even
not really worried about Prudence finding a husband. I'd rather Portia find one.
I just like watching Prudence on screen because she makes me laugh every time she's on the
So
screen.
much.
She's so dumb. She's so dumb.
These episodes had good ones with her. Like I like it when her and Philippa are together because like I think they're funny and they play off each other well. And there's always Penelope in the background, just like, you guys are so stupid. I really like it so much.
Even when Portia tells him that you're leaving, your stuff is back, whatever, she says she's keeping most of the money, but even that, it's not like I'm keeping this because I worked hard for it. This is what we're going to live off of because we no longer have a man to bring in money. Clearly, we don't have anybody who can offer us any solace. So I have to do this on my own, and I can't get a job. I can't do any of this stuff. So the money we're keeping is just to survive.
Yeah,
we're keeping most of it, but it's a survival thing, and even that is not I worked hard for this money. It's we need this to survive. You're a man and can go do anything. We're women and can't.
Yeah, I didn't blame her a bit.
I did like when she's like, "You are free to tell all these people here who are gathered outside."
Yep, no one can do that.
The one thing I felt he was right about was because he said this key was just as much yours as mine, if not more so. He's right there because I don't think Jack would have scanned the whole time.
No.
I think his plan was simply to marry someone who had money.
Yeah,
and it was Portia's idea to scam everybody. So I felt a little bit bad for him with that.
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Not much.
Portia's not stupid. She's a very intelligent woman.
She is.
And she will sacrifice anything for her daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I like that she says, I do have a team, 3 women who are nettling and tiresome. She just lists all the ways that they frustrate her, but she says, but they are mine.
That it was spoken like every mother in the world. Like, you know, they may get on my nerves, but you know what? They're mine and I love them. So.
Yeah.
It's funny how all the Featherington women are just so different.
Mm-hmm.
Even Philippa, like she's as dumb as Prudence, but
Yeah.
Prudence is more mean than Philippa is.
As I was gonna say, Philippa's like nice. She's just kind of ditzy.
I don't know that I would call her nice, but she's not as mean as Prudence.
I think she's nice.
She does openly mock like the Bridgertons and like the Sharmas and Penelope.
Yeah. Well, true.
But hers are more like just like ribbings. It's not. Prudence is actually like cruel a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
But she's funny.
She's very funny. I agree.
They didn't look similar. You wouldn't know they were a family just because they're all so very different.
Except for the hair color.
Yep.
That is
Which
true.
Penelope's changed like 3 different shades for this one
I've
season.
heard seen a lot of people talk about that. So yeah. I didn't notice that, but we know
I
that
did
my
right away.
focus was
Part of it was because in the beginning it was like so bright red, it was almost like bright neon orange.
yeah.
And then it went to like dark orange, and then by the end it was like a normal red.
I didn't notice.
I didn't notice
I
that
really-
either. Now I'm gonna have to go back and find it.
I really
Yes,
didn't.
you will have to go back and watch it again. Bummer.
Darn.
Mm.
So he's paying for his consequences by himself in America now.
Mhm.
And the other people that are reaping the consequences are the Bridgerton family and the Sharma family from their, what did Colin call it? The bungled nuptials.
You hear that in his voice when you say that.
I liked when he said that. That was funny.
The idea to promenade together, I like that both the Sharmas and the Bridgertons had that same idea.
Uh-huh.
But even when they wanted to promenade together, that was when Eloise was found out by the Queen, because Eloise was gonna go down to Theo again,
Mhm.
but under the guise of I need to go shopping. Like, seriously, Violet, you know your daughter so well. How are you missing all these things? Eloise does not go shopping. She does not go flower arranging. Like, that's not who she is.
Violet is doing that whole mom thing where it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna pretend like you're doing exactly this because I don't really want to know.
I think part of it too is that she was so hopeful that Eloise was finally like,
Mhm.
oh, I do like this stuff. Okay, great. I'm so glad you're into it. I'm not going to rock that boat.
Yeah. And she should have realized that.
She should have.
Mhm.
When they all promenade together, it was Anthony just looked so tortured the whole time. And
Yeah.
obviously Kate and the Sharmas and Lady Danbury they all have different reactions. And it's Violet and Danbury who have Danbury says hi to everybody as they walk past them, and no one talks to them.
She
And
was mad.
yes, she was mad.
It was
And-
so crazy.
She even said to Edwina, we might find you a husband this season yet. Kate says, I admire your optimism, but I don't see a way that a scandal could be greater than this one. And then, of course, as the Bridgertons are walking through, people are giving them the cut,
Mhm.
and not directly yet. We actually don't see the cut direct. We just see that people greeting them and then walking away very fast.
Mm-hmm.
But then Anthony spies Kate, and he just looks so completely tortured. And it's after that they meet together at Lady Danbury's house. And those are one of my favorite scenes. I love that scene so much. I love it.
Yes.
Because they're trying to decide how to set it right. And so they create this narrative that it was a mutual decision. We are all agreed upon it. It's all good. It's all fine.
Sure.
And what Newton came in there. What did Newton do to make them both bend over? I forget.
He tried to jump on Anthony's lap. And I wanted to point
Trying
out
to jump on whose lap?
on Anthony's lap. And I want to point out though that like in the beginning when Kate is still like can't stand Anthony, Newton's like ready to like bite him and like barking at him. Now that Kate has realized her feelings, well, Newton now likes him, and I thought that was fun.
It was fun.
But that scene when Edwina's like everybody's looking at him because I'm like, y'all, come on. I mean, you're lingering gaze like right in front of all these people. And Edwina, I think I said out loud, she was like, was I truly this blind?
I said,
think I said yes. Yes, you were. Mm-hmm.
But is that why they stood up? Because they both, I thought Newton did something to make.
They went to grab him, but they both stood up to like grab him at the same time or something. And
their hands like inched towards each other when they were standing there. And then it wasn't even just like this, like their eyes staring, but like Anthony had like this.
They're like this far apart.
Yes.
Like,
and he started to like have that slow smile come across his face as he's gazing at her. Like, and then Lady Danbury says something along the lines of, you two will have to stay on opposite sides of the room. And that's when they both are like, why? Is this confusing for you? Because it didn't seem to be confusing for you yesterday when you were making out in front of the altar. So, I don't know.
God, it's so funny though. Like just all of their sayings just crack me up because it's like do you all realize that other people can see you? Like
that's exactly what it is.
Because they can. They're right there. But I love that at the same time. I mean, their connection is so strong that they don't even really care who else is in the room.
Exactly. Well, I don't think it's that they don't
can't
care.
help
It's that they can't control it.
They cannot control it. And that's so attractive. I love it.
And when they go to the art gallery together, that's my favorite scene is when Kate walks past him and he just sniffs and he turns his head and Lady Danbury has to cough.
Yes.
He looks so appropriately shamed by it.
It was so blatant the way he like smelled the air after she walked. It's those lilies, that lily bath, right? Or the lily soap. Mary's the one that suggested that to her a couple episodes
That's
ago.
on Mary.
That's the way to get them in, I guess.
But as they go through there, it's Anthony is walking with Mary Sharma, and Edwina is just being a brat. The whole time. Like, do you want Ruin to come to your family? Do you want to? She's even the one who said, I think this is a great idea. And it's simply because they said Anthony and Kate said it wouldn't be, which is just petty. But she just almost all of episode 7, she just ticked me off the whole time.
It's not until episode 8 that I'm like, okay.
You've redeemed yourself a little bit. But all of episodes, she was so petty. She was so mean. And then she kept saying that Kate lied to her and Kate must not believe in true love and all these other, like, she didn't, oh my gosh, she wasn't lying to you. She was trying to you're the one who pushed for this. She told you no over and over again, but you wanted it so bad that she was giving up everything for you.
And I mean, she tells her that later, like I didn't lie. Like I was lying to myself kind of thing. So
when Anthony comes up, well, first I want to bring up Cressida Cowper and Lady Cowper. I hate those two. I hate them.
Yes, agreed.
That was one. She's worse in the book. They're way worse in the book. But that's one thing that not one, but one of the things the show did well was translate how everyone hated them. That translated very well to screen. Like I want to choke her out every time she's on the screen. I can't stand her. But they're mocking Lady Danbury, and she's like, no, that's. My name is on one of the rooms. You see the one with Danbury above the door.
I loved that.
That's mine. And that was on the nameless harpy that was in the middle of them. I don't even between Cressida and her mom.
I know who it was.
Oh yes, Lady Danbury, absolutely. Oh my gosh, shut up. Yeah. Nobody cares about you. But when Anthony goes up to Kate and he's like, we should talk. We kissed. We did not kiss. We did a terrible thing. And we could not have kissed because you were my sister's betrothed. And I
little
just,
sadness on his face as she says that, because at first he's kind of got that cute little smirk when he's talking
Mhm.
about like we kissed, and then she's like, we didn't starts saying all those things. I mean, just
Yeah.
the sadness that just rolls over his face. I'm just like, girl, stop, kiss him again.
and you know that the reason she's doing this is because she's so hurt by herself and
Yeah.
by the pain she's so hurt by the pain her sister feels, which
Yes.
I don't think she has any right to feel. I cannot say
Nope.
that enough.
Yep,
It's your
I
fault.
agree.
You're too stupid to look at things.
I agree.
For goodness sake, you're the one who forced them to spend all this time together. And Edwina, you're the one who said, whatever you're doing, don't stop doing it. So she
Okay,
didn't
then.
stop doing it. That's on
Yeah,
you. You're an
you
idiot.
asked.
That's not anybody else's fault but your own.
Exactly.
But this is where we also find out that Violet's going to host a ball. And she talks to Cressida and her mom's like, oh, did you not get your invitation? Oh, I'll see if there's enough room.
I loved that.
And I so expected a different reaction or a different result to that ball.
I did, but at the
I
same
think there was
time,
enough room.
we got the most wholesome scene that I
Mhm.
just absolutely loved when, I mean,
Absolutely.
at this point, like I didn't think I could love Antony anymore. And then when he hollers at Hyacinth and asks her to come down and do him the honor,
Mhm.
it's like, well, this is adorable.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, we just got to see so many cute, like within that dance, we also get to see, Gregory's dancing with Lady Danbury, which is really
Mhm.
cute. And then you've got Eloise and Benedict, who are like my favorite
Yeah.
sibling duo. Like I love seeing them together. So it
Mhm.
was just, and I feel like in that moment, Edwina should have realized, and I think maybe she did get a twinge of like when Kate and Antony finally get paired up together, just the happiness on their
Mhm.
faces. I mean, like, you should notice this and you should
Yeah.
realize like they make each other happy. I mean, it is what it is.
And it was short-lived because the
Mhm.
moment the dance is over, I think it was at the dance, and this is where I really wanted to slap Edwina when Kate told Edwina, you're being cruel.
Mhm.
And she said, the one thing I know for certain is I am more kind-hearted than you. And just started it like,
Yeah.
shut up.
Made me really
You
mad.
self-involved, high and mighty little prissy, bad word.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
get to talk to her like that when she's sacrificing everything and has continued to sacrifice everything, even for Mary. And her entire life has been nothing but a sacrifice of service to you. And you have the gall to say these horribly hurtful things when, one, you can see that the first time ever, she is happy in someone else's presence, where she's not stressed out. She's not angry. She's not trying to find out where your next meal will come from because you're out of money. She's
Yeah.
just had a moment of joy, and you have to rip that from her.
Yeah.
Edwina has known nothing but joy and privilege because of Kate. And I just, I get so mad when she
And
did
it
that.
makes me mad too,
And obviously no one showed up to the ball. We find out later on when the Whistledown papers come in is because, Eloise has been called out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Eloise is very upset. And Anthony has to go out. And that's when that's when Edwina says something horrible to Kate. She has to leave too. I thought that the speeches here were more, I think these speeches here were better than the Bane of My Existence speech. I really do.
I mean, I like these too. I'm not gonna lie.
Because he said at one point, how did he word it? I knew I should have written it down, but he's like, my very reason for breathing,
yes,
or something like that. I'm not getting it right.
I did write it down, but I didn't bring it in here. Oh, he said that all I'm able to find myself able to breathe for is
That's what it was. Yeah.
Good
And he said
God,
that
man.
despite all my obligations, despite all these things I'm going for, despite all these things that I have a duty and obligation for, all I want is to be near you.
Yes.
And I thought that was way better than the Bane of the Existence speech, because it's just, and then
I mean, I like them both. Yeah.
But I just think this one was just so much more of a confession of love and desperation to be with the person who makes him happy.
Yeah.
And he even goes on to say that when he finds out that she's done everything for her family, and he finishes the sentence for her, and she's like, everything I've ever done, he says, has been for them.
Mhm.
And she's telling him to go. And he said, why? Because we might actually do something for ourselves for once.
Yeah.
And just,
oh my God. I will agree though. He does. And then even, I mean, we won't go into detail here because Maureen doesn't want to.
No.
But I do just want to touch on the whole like go inside.
I know.
It's like, oh my God. And then just there's like a breath that he takes, like this, like almost like a growly breath, that I was like, Andy, my goodness. But that's all it took. You know, they have a nice night.
And that's when she says, what did I say about you and your rules?
And I mean, that is her. Girl, you are just antagonizing him at this point.
But he's also doing the same to her. He knows exactly what he's doing to her too.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it fuels their fire.
It does.
It's because it's a challenge, and that's what they both crave, is a challenge. They don't want easy, because easy isn't worth it.
Yeah.
And it never is.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at anything in your own lives, nothing that's easy is worth it.
Yeah. But
and
I mean,
this is something that they actually have to fight for.
Yeah. I just want to point out too, like when he wakes up the morning after, the sheer joy on this man's face. It's like, oh my gosh.
He was so excited to find her next to
happy.
him, and then she wasn't there.
She's not there. But I mean, she's obviously replaying it all in her head. Like she doesn't know what to do. So
I have to say, so that scene in the gazebo was easy to fast forward through. I was like, okay, sweet, I can just fast forward.
I don't know anything about that, so I didn't fast forward.
But for me, I was like, okay, I got it. But then they woke up the next morning, I'm like, okay, sweet, it's done. And then she's in a room, and then suddenly you're hit with a flashback. Oh my gosh, what is no?
It's like, but wait, there's more.
And then flashbacks were even hotter than the original scene.
Made me so uncomfortable. And so, but here's the thing though, is the flashbacks, they would stop and then they go back to her, and you're like, okay, it's done. And then the moment I'm comfortable with it being done, there's a worse one that comes back, and it just I was just not prepared the first time I saw it. The second time, my finger just hovered over the 10-second thing. So I just kept it in the 10-second thing forward.
She's using all the wrong words, Jeanette.
Huh?
So she's using all the wrong words.
We don't know anything about that though, Maureen. Probably the listeners don't either. Because we all were going backwards. Like, let's wait. Did I miss something?
Kelly Clarkson, when she gave her a review, and she's like, I had to run that because I didn't remember seeing that before.
I will admit I did the exact same thing though, because I was like, hold on. That didn't happen, right? And so I took it back. I was like, nope, that was new.
There was one scene that made me very uncomfortable that was in her flashbacks. Like,
that's the scene that I had to rewind, because I was like, well, that didn't happen, did it? I need to go check it out again.
I was very uncomfortable. I did not even, so when I rewatched it last night, I was like, oh, now I don't remember the exact time this happened. So I didn't even watch in between the flashbacks. I just fast forwarded the whole thing. And then I turned it back on when she's out riding, I almost said riding her bike, riding her horse. Yeah. That's kind of like a bike, but she's just so distraught the next morning that she can't, and she can't escape these thoughts. She can't escape what she did. And all she longs for is to escape what she did, because she can't figure out what she feels, what she does.
And poor guy, I mean, he's having the opposite reaction here. He gets the ring. He's going to propose to her. And he goes there and she's not there. And of course, thankfully, like, he knows exactly where she's headed. So he
goes there in the pouring rain to propose to her. The look, I mean, Jonathan Bailey is so good at his job.
I mean, the man deserves an award just for like his facial expressions. Mm-hmm. I've never seen anyone who can convey the emotion he can with like this part of his face.
This whole season has been nuts. I mean, like, and everything. When he looked at her falling off the horse, like, and he does this thing like where his whole body goes into like tremors, and like, how do you make your body do that on command like that?
You know, and I noticed something else too. Until that moment when he is scared and he sees her fall off, it has been Miss Sharma. He hollers out Kate. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, I didn't notice that till the second time I watched it. And I was like, I mean, it's because like, I mean, he's so like, I don't know. Cause they talked about how like, I mean, obviously you didn't do that. You weren't going to call them by their like first name until it's like something, you know, serious or whatever. But I don't know. I just noticed that. And I just thought that was interesting that he had never done that before. Like even in our scenes that we saw, we did not hear him call her Kate until that moment.
Yeah. Because that was something that was reserved only for intimate relations, like Cousin Jack.
Cousin Jack. Love it. But man, I mean, I was scared too, because I mean, I know like in the books they do a little something where like there's like a carriage accident or I don't know, something. But like when he like picked her up, she's like, she's bleeding. I was like, oh my gosh, where are we going with this? And I mean, he picked her up, and I mean, it's soaking. She's just soaking wet. It's pouring down the rain. I mean, he just scooped her right up.
I really appreciated, because in a lot of shows, when you see the man carrying the girl or whatever, they make it look so easy, but you could tell that like Jonathan Bailey was doing the work.
Yeah. Well, she's a tall woman. I mean, she's, you know, so I mean,
but it's still, I mean, carrying another person, through
yeah.
rain and through in grass,
Should
and
be heavy.
it should be hard.
Yes.
And
yes.
Jonathan Bailey, you could tell he was actually doing the work, and I appreciated it. I appreciated that they didn't make it so kitschy Hollywood that it didn't look like anything. It was, oh, he's so strong and masculine. He's not even struggling, and I
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I
like
mean,
that.
even because I mean, even strong and masculine, like it's gonna be hard to pick up a dead
Mhm.
weight, full human
Mhm.
being. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
because the woman playing Kate, it's not like she could be like, oh, here, let me help you.
yeah, because I mean, she's supposed to be passed out, you know? Yeah. So I like that too. But I mean, he gets her there and she's so scared. And I loved how like Benedict also showed up and like was there for it. And I mean, I think that's the moment he's realizing all of this. And I mean, Anthony is just so scared of like losing her, you know?
Even when he's
And
like ordering the doctor around, and he's
yeah,
giving the doctor a report of all the things he found. He's like, I put pressure on it, and then he's yelling, get her a blanket, she's still shivering. And the doctor has to say, let me do my work.
yeah,
And the look of absolute searing pain on his face when he looks at Edwina and Mary and then back to Kate.
yeah.
It's just, oh,
It's all
this
just
is
flashbacks to what happened with his dad, you know, and just seeing all the pain that this is causing. So it's terrible.
this is the only season of Bridgerton that I actually cried. And it's because of episode 8 with Anthony.
It's because of Jonathan Bailey. I
Mhm.
mean, he's just, yeah.
Nuts.
agreed.
It's nuts.
Yes.
This is when he explodes on Colin for taking out the money, but he also is, who else does he yell at?
No, he yells at everybody because he even tells Benedict to go back to his doodling. And that was the only one that I got mad at. I was like,
Yeah.
no, quit that. Leave him alone and his doodling. Like,
But there was something specific he brought up to everybody. Oh, they lost 3 servants and no one told him. And then Colin took out money, but it was because everyone else started to chime in. And Eloise, is no one allowed to do whatever they want? And clearly
Yeah.
that was the wrong thing to say, because she's the reason why the family is struggling so hard right now.
yeah. And he told her that too. So yeah. Yeah.
And I think that one was kind of deserved, personally. I thought the
Yeah.
Colin thing was deserved too.
Yeah. Only Benedict, you should have left him alone.
Yeah, because Benedict has been nothing but helpful and kind and funny. And was it that scene or was another one where he called Anthony over? He's like, is there anything that you should tell the family, or mainly me,
Mhm.
brother? But he said it like behind
That
his
scene.
sketchbook. Was it
Yeah.
that scene?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think we had this in our, so while we just got Benedict on the table here, like, I don't think we put this anywhere in the notes that he finds out these episodes that Anthony like paid to get him into the art school. And I know that hit him so hard. And I didn't think about this because I think I was so focused on Kate and Anthony, like at this point in the show, the first time I watched. But I wonder if this is a way. I thought this could be a way that we're leading into his story, because in his story, because I was wondering what we were going to do with that, because the big thing is that Sophie's the only one that really knows that he draws and he does all this stuff.
Mhm.
So maybe he's going to give some stuff up and she's going to somehow be the one to bring him back into like his passion for art and stuff. So
Because even when, I love how much they bring Rain into this. Because even in Benedict's story, like he's in bed for days because he got sick in the rain, bringing Sophie from that party. But
yes.
that's when she sees the drawings on the table and he's like, no, I thought he said he used to, but I think they tied that in this episode when he because I thought for sure after he talked to Anthony that he would go back to the studio and continue to work at the academy.
Yeah.
Because they did get credence to what he was doing. They said, well, I thought you weren't gonna be any good, but you are spectacular.
Yeah.
But when he looked around the room and then he closed his pencil box.
Yeah. It looks like
think-
he's done. I mean,
Mhm.
he's just doubting himself at this point. He's doubting whether it's his abilities that got him there, and
Mhm.
even with everybody telling him that. So I mean, so
I think
maybe
part of him
that's
too wants to make it on its own merit. So
Yeah.
let me try again on my own when I'm ready.
Yeah.
I love
So
what
maybe
Anthony
that'll-
says to him though.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, he's basically like, dude, you would have still done this. It's just, he was just helping him out. Like it wasn't.
But even beyond that, when he says, you want to paint, it is one of your many great attributes.
Yeah.
Along with knowing what people need before they need it themselves.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm so glad somebody finally said that to Benedict, because Benedict is fantastic and nobody
is.
gives him enough freaking credit.
Yeah. And see, I think he's great too. Like, I mean, I look forward to it because I think he's going to be another that's just going to absolutely rock his season.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that it's Kate that brought, this is how love transforms. And that's what Violet has been trying to tell Anthony all season long. Kate is the one who makes him recognize these things, because once he tapped into how he felt for her, he was able to see how he felt for other people. Because you can't haul that side off and then still have love for some people, but not others.
Mhm.
You either have to block it all off or you have to let it all out.
And I mean, talking about crying this season, I don't think I cried any. It was the moment though that Violet goes in to tell him that Kate has woken up.
Ugh.
And this man, oh my God, like I know we've said it too many times already, but like I think he's one of the best actors I've ever seen. I mean, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna put it out there because he just absolutely breaks down. It's like this relief, and again, his breathing. Like he conveys so much emotion in just like his breathing, which is just wild to me. I mean, he doesn't even have to speak a word. It's just in his breath that you know what he's saying, and it's just like this release that he lets out, and he just lets go and just starts crying. And even Violet looks completely like, oh wow. Like I think she knew that he had feelings for Kate, but I don't think until that moment she realized exactly how strong those feelings were.
Mhm.
And I love that conversation that they have, that she tells him, like, no matter, I mean, we know how depressed she was, we know how much she went through, but she's telling him like, I would do it all again
Mhm.
because true love is worth it. And
Yeah.
ugh.
The other scene that made me emotional with Anthony was when he and Gregory are talking about his dad.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And you could
That
tell,
was
like, when
nice.
Gregory asked about it,
Mhm.
and he said, am I anything like him? The look on Anthony's face was
Yeah.
like he never wanted to be asked that question ever, because he worked
Yeah.
so hard to not dwell on anything that could cause him pain or cause him, because any pain, any love, any feeling like that is going to direct him from his purpose or redirect him from his purpose.
Right.
And so those were two scenes that and I did cry when he brought Kate into the room and he kept saying, it's my fault. It's all my fault. Everything's that. I cried a little bit then, because he just,
Yeah.
the look of absolute pain he produced on his face was like, that was one where I was like my breath got sucked out a little bit, because just like you could almost like feel his pain in yourself. And that's what
Yeah.
it was on the couch when Violet walked in there, and just even the way he put his fingers on his head, that the way he held his head with just the tips of his fingers, like he was afraid to touch more of his own face, and like almost like he would be afraid, he was afraid he was going to shatter.
Then of course he goes to see her. He tries to propose, and I've never been so mad at Kate in my life. Which at the same, but I understand. Like at that point, she thinks he's proposing out of obligation.
How can you think that over all the conversations you've had, though? I get that he
know.
started off with, I took advantage of you. I get that that's what he started off with.
I think it's just more of, and I mean, again, we don't really tap into this like we do in the books. I don't think I mean, she doesn't believe that anyone could desire her or love her in those ways. I mean, for whatever reason, she just doesn't believe that's possible. And so that's just
Well, we do get a glimpse of it when she's talking to Mary.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm glad Mary said all that stuff. I think Mary said it too late.
Well, that's
glad
what's,
that she finally said it.
Mary and even Edwina coming into episode 8. So they were finally the characters in that episode that I loved in the books.
Yep.
But they didn't become those characters until that last episode.
Exactly. And this is where we hear Kate say, you took me in as a daughter, I owed it to you. And Mary's saying, you didn't owe me anything. You were my daughter. I loved you as a daughter from the moment I met you, that you don't have to repay me for that.
Yeah.
And this is where Kate confesses to her that they skipped a few steps in the relationship, and that's the only reason he wants to propose to her.
Yeah.
And I get why she's feeling the way she's feeling, because she doesn't feel like she has any worth or value, because I mean, first of all, society tells her she doesn't. Who she views as her mother, her grandparents very clearly say you're useless and worthless and you have zero value. And then to further on top of that, Mary seemed to take Edwina's side through this whole thing. So that had to have stung.
Yeah.
So I get why she's coming where she's coming from. But after all that Anthony said to you, after all that he's fought through, after all these things, you really can't.
I mean, the man said that all he can find himself able to breathe for is you. Like, really doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, too, what Anthony said is, he said, you're running away. And then she just said, go.
Yeah.
So you're gonna make him run away.
Pure heartbreak. But I think finally, like, she has a, I mean, when she's able to have a heart to heart with Edwina and like really have those discussions, and they can finally hash it out. I mean, this is sort of the moment that I think she feels like maybe it's okay to want this. I think she's still a little unsure until
she is unsure,
go to that last dance together. But
and that's, Edwina says the line, you don't even know yourself, which is accurate because all she's ever known is caretaker and
Yes.
supporter, and that's it. That's who she's been. She hasn't been able to tap into herself because she's had to care for this selfish kid and her mom. But Edwina says something along the lines of, I'm going to paraphrase here, but I don't like who you and I have become. Let's figure out who we are together.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, that dance was Wrecking Ball.
I
The
loved
version-
that rendition of that song.
So good.
I love it.
Me too. That whole moment is just so.
I like
loved
first
it
though
so
that I want
much.
to point out is that the very first dance that Kate and Edwina have when they go to the Featherington Ball is with each other.
That's true. It is.
And I think
I
that's a
liked that
vital
too.
thing too.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's Edwina that encourages her, because once Edwina let all this stuff go, and she even said to Kate, while you were sick, all I could care about was you getting better. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that prompted her to realize what she was being. So she wanted Edwina, or she wanted Kate to be happy then. And
Yeah.
then the queen comes in. So the queen is watching this dance unfold, and you
Yes.
see all these snotty, crappy people around him saying, oh, is that why it's canceled? Is that why they did this? Is that why they did that?
Yeah.
But
Which
what
I mean, it was though. But
I know, but the way they were alluding to it wasn't like anything untoward happened.
no,
It was
No.
because they felt
they
things
were
for
in
other
love.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was this one part of the dance when Anthony's the one who kept looking around the room, and Kate kept her eyes
She
solidly
says-
on him.
This is a moment that gives me butterflies in the tummy every time I watch this scene. Like,
But it's Anthony who says, because she says, do you want to stop? And he said, just keep your eyes on me.
we said,
But-
keep looking at me. No one else matters. I've
Mhm.
watched that scene like a million times. Like,
But it's Anthony's eyes that keep wandering around the room.
yes, I think he was at first like a little concerned, but then I think once he saw her concern, it was like, no,
But I think his concern was for her,
yes,
not for himself or how he was viewed. I think he was a little afraid of what people were going to say about her.
everything about that whole dance is just perfection. Even
Mhm.
before they start dancing, when they're having their cute little banter about like, how many fingers, and he's got this most adorable little smirk.
He
when
does.
he flips from his like 3 to 4. I mean, everything about this whole scene is just like you said, the music, that Wrecking
Mhm.
Ball is probably my favorite song from this season. Like,
Yeah.
I adored
Mhm.
it. And I mean, just them dancing, I loved. There's that moment where they like bring their hands down and she does this little eyebrow crinkle.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, this is a facial expression. I mean, like, there's so much sadness in it. And it's beautiful. I
Mhm.
love the scene. It's probably my favorite scene
Mhm.
of all season.
Even when the dance is done, they just both stand there and stare at each other.
Yeah.
As everybody's walking right past them.
I love that visual.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they're holding hands too the whole time.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I love the queen too, like
was just gonna
saying,
bring that up.
taking up for them, and Edwina too, saying, I think they look beautiful.
Mhm.
I mean, both of them just, agree. And then I love what follows that when the queen's like, have you met my nephew?
Miss
He's a
Edwina,
prince
have I told you about my nephew? He's a prince.
and he's
And he's
available.
available.
Which I kind of like. I'm like,
I
can we
do too.
bring Prince Frederick back? And like,
Mhm.
that's a
I'm
good
all
match,
for that.
actually.
I'm all for that.
I like that.
But I like
Like
to.
Cressida's face and her mom's face.
I know, right?
Cressida loses the prince to another one the second time.
Nope.
Even before that, the queen, when she heard the whisper, she was so disgusted. And I love this aspect of the queen because she realizes in that moment the love that Kate and Antony had for each other that they tried to deny is just as
Mhm.
strong as hers was with the king, and they couldn't deny it either. And
Yeah.
that's what flips the switch. And the queen says, no, the wedding didn't go forward because I decided it shouldn't. I changed my mind. And she said, what was the question she asked?
Or no, that's when Edwina says, I think they look beautiful. And she said, beautiful indeed. And then she kind of wants them all to agree.
Yeah, but I thought she asked the question because they were like, oh, yes, your majesty. Yes, your majesty. Maybe she
Oh, I
said,
can't
don't you
remember.
agree?
Maybe I think she
Yeah.
says, don't you agree? And then
Yeah.
they're, yeah.
The look of annoyance on her face when she gets no response and then she has to repeat it again.
But I love that about her. I
Mhm.
love that she's so tough, but like
Mhm.
her little soft spot
Yeah.
is to talk about true love. And then you got her, like if she sees two people like actually in love with each other, she's going to be rooting for them.
Mhm.
That's what did it for, she was upset about the whole Simon and Daphne thing until he made that speech that like proved that he was madly in love with her, and
And I think even carrying a bit more weight too was watching in episode 6 how Edwina was with the king.
Mhm.
And she felt completely honored by Edwina and what she did and how she hit it. Because Edwina
Yeah.
could have gone and said anything, done anything, and told everybody, and she
Yeah.
didn't do any of those things. And
But
even
then-
even earlier, like, because she was offering Edwina those necklaces in episode 6, and earlier in episode 7, when Lady Danbury, we didn't talk about this either. The Queen had Lady Danbury over there, and Lady Danbury was like, "I'm surprised I got an invitation from you."
Yeah, and what she said, she'll send some necklaces or something like.
Because she said, "We're so concerned about Miss Sharma's recovery." And she's, "Yes, I'll send some necklaces over there to help."
What's that gonna do?
But I mean, I'm not gonna turn down the necklaces if the queen wants to send them
Not
to
from a
me.
queen. I mean, that's
Feel free.
anything else.
Put 'em on the
that's your
sleeping
take
body
back
on the
with you.
bed. There you go. Oh, it's pretty.
Please do. But then of course, this scene when he walks out into the garden and like tells her that he loves her. This is another favorite of mine. I don't know if I can pick a favorite, like, to be honest with you.
Every scene with Anthony and Kate in it is your favorite scene.
She said that like every time.
Right?
But I mean, like Anthony, like, I mean, his speeches this season, like every
Mhm.
single one of them, you're like, oh my gosh. Because even in this one, I don't have this one memorized. But when he says something about like, well, I love like when he just, I loved you since, what does he say? Since our first like
Race in the
encounter
park.
in the race in the park. I loved you at every
Rake in the park.
race. What does he say? I loved you at every dance and every time we're together and every time we're apart. And then when he does that whole like, you must feel it because I do. I mean, just.
And did he also say something along the lines of, "You don't have to agree, you don't have to acknowledge it, but you have to." That's what he says. But you must feel it. Because
Yeah.
I do.
And then there's something else about like when he says that he'll humble himself. Like I don't have all that memorized, but this was a great speech as well. I loved it.
I am sad we didn't get to see their wedding though.
A little
Me
bit.
too. But I guess because we've already had a wedding, there was
Mhm.
just.
And they probably, because of in the books it was a bigger deal than it was in the
Mhm.
show. And in the show they probably didn't have a big deal about it because he was engaged to her sister and it was a big scandal when it broke off. So they probably, logistically in that time, they would have had a small gathering with very few people there
Right.
just to get married and then go on their way.
But I liked
It's like the ending scene we got though with
Yes.
the what are they playing?
Pall Mall.
Paul Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
They're cute. I mean, it's just all like, I don't know. It's also funny to me that they just like talk about how they're like, I don't know, you just blatantly like discussing how they're not down there. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're talking about this in front of your mothers. Like, I don't know. That
Which
was
would have
so
been very
awkward.
abnormal for that time period. And making out the way they did on the Pall Mall course would have also been
Yeah,
very abnormal for
I
that time
know.
period.
But maybe,
If you are with your
everybody,
family.
everybody is so happy they're finally together. Maybe nobody's like
Mhm.
saying anything, just whatever. But I loved it when they do finally get down there and they're like, we've picked our mallets. Mallet of death is still there, and Kate snatches it up like so fast.
I love Anthony's reaction to the sound because you just hear him go, "Oh."
Yeah. And then when Newton steals the ball, and of course they both yell at Newton just like a married couple, like yelling at their child or whatever, which was really cute.
He's your dog. He's yours by marriage, but he doesn't listen to me.
And she says, and you think
I
I
do?
do. But all of that is just, it's so sweet. What else? And then they were like, so does that mean you all are forfeiting? And both of them are like, no, like, are you kidding me? I think it's just, I mean, they're just so well suited for each other.
Mhm.
I love it so much. It was,
And the look of sheer joy on Violet's face
yes.
as she watches them out there.
Yep. Yeah. And Daphne too, because they
Daphne,
do that
yeah.
shot of her like that she's just,
Yeah.
happy to see him. I mean, think about Anthony like in that last scene versus like Anthony that we've
Mhm.
seen like in season 1.
Yeah.
I mean, different man entirely. Like he's so beautiful when he's happy. I just
And
want to
he's
say that really
way
quick.
less wavering in his thoughts and opinions and desires, because when he was trying to fight it, he could never be, his head wasn't straight. It was
Yeah.
back and forth on everything. I'm up, I'm down, I'm here, I'm there. And when he's happy, there's a clear course.
It was nice.
Mm-hmm. It
I
was a
loved
sweet
it.
ending. I had to fast forward to the ending too. I wasn't prepared for that either. The one scene near the end. Not prepared for that. But I did like the pommel. I like that I hope that they continue
You probably
to do that.
didn't get to see his beautiful face then either. Like he's looking at her like so lovingly when she gets up. Like it's just, it's beautiful. I don't know.
But I hope, because wasn't there more than one book that ended with Pall Mall?
I think Paul Mall shows up in a few different like I feel like I've seen it. I don't know, Tiffany, you've read them all recently. Does it show up again?
They mention it in like most of the books.
Because I
I think
hope that they tie that in from now on. I like that we ended with Palma. It's in Colin's book. It's in
I think
Benedict's book.
Colin's book. Yeah, I think because they're
And
all.
I think it shows up at the end in Antony's for the first time. That might be in her epilogue that she goes back and rewrites.
See, that's
But
where I
it's-
get confused on her epilogues. Sometimes I don't know which book those were in. Sometimes
Epilogues
all
are
of
really
them-
confusing. and
With
they're
all
the
of them,
worst
she wrote a
epilogues
second
ever.
epilogue though. That's
Yeah.
why, because there was an epilogue and then she went back and she redid them with a second epilogue once the show got picked up. And
Yeah,
the
that's true.
second epilogue in Antony's book has that's where we find out that Penn and Colin are together. Pretty sure.
Yes.
These
I
are
kinda-
like
yeah.
hour-long epilogues. I have never seen an epilogue this
I
long
know
in
they're
any
so
other book.
long. They're so long.
So that's where we end the season 2. Speculation on where it's going to go is either going to be Penn and Colin or Benedict and Sophie or Eloise and whoever, because
I think we're going to do Penn and Colin and maybe set up for Benedict's story and possibly Eloise's story. I feel like all 3 of those will be done a little bit in next season, but I think the focus will be Penn and Colin.
I wish, because when you read Colin's book, you get obviously him and Penn, but then you get the tail at the end of the book, you get Eloise and Philip. And you kind of get that in all the books where it's just, but in the show, I feel like outside, of course, we've only got 2 seasons, but the first season is focused so much on just Daphne and Simon. I wish we had less ensemble and more focus on the couple who's it's about.
Yeah.
And just tidbits here and there.
Yeah. Maybe going forward, they will be more ensembles, which I'm okay with.
Well,
that
they are
as
now
long as-
already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want you to go back next season and it's only Penn and Colin when you didn't give me a whole Kate and Anthony. If you're going to make it an ensemble, it's going to have to be like that from here on out, in my opinion.
What if it
Otherwise,
comes to
not
Benedict
fair.
and Sophie and they just want to make that about those 2?
Well, they can do that.
Just
And
about the
possibly
people I like.
Francesca and Michael, because I'm really liking that too. So
All right, well, we don't know what's coming up next week, but just because season 2 is over doesn't mean the conversation has to stop. So you can join us in our Bridgerton Family Fan Club, which is Bridgerton Family Fan Club on Facebook. Come over there and let's get the conversation going. Let's bring it up more. Let's talk about your theories, what you want to see happen. We're always doing some fun posts on there, and there's a lot of fans in there that have the same heart that we talk about the show. But come on over there and enjoy the conversation, start a conversation, and let's talk more Bridgerton and let's speculate. If you find any articles, let us know about next season, because I've heard, Jeanette, even you said tonight that there's been confirmation that it's Penn and Colin's next. I want to see where the article said that. So if you find it, send it to us. On that note, see you next time. Bye, guys. Bye. For our listeners craving more, you can search for all 16 of our groups on Facebook by searching Family Fan Club. Come on over and join the conversation. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok under Fandom Family Chats. We try to always make sure to have something that will entertain. Of course, we'd also love your feedback, the good and any bad. And you can provide that by emailing us at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our website coming soon, where you'll be able to buy FFC merch and merch about some of your favorite TV shows with some favorite sayings and images. We're also working toward hosting a Comic-Con style event in 2024, where some of your favorite fandoms, cast, crew, and fans alike will come together for a fun-filled weekend. You can find those announcements on our website, coming at you soon. Keep watching and listening, and as always, don't forget to share and subscribe.